94% of people who are utilizing TRT or peptide therapy actually do not need it, do not require it. Millions of American men specifically use a prescription testosterone injection or gel or some type of form of testosterone replacement therapy, often called TRT, to ultimately start to increase hormone levels of testosterone. But why are we seeing an epidemic of low testosterone that is natural? Well, we don't exercise. We're under chronic stress. We don't sleep well. And because we don't sleep well, it means we don't have a purposeful and intentional night routine and morning routine. We don't eat proper foods. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be fixed. We need to become more attentive. We need to become more aware. We need to become more intentional. We need to become more personalized and customized. We need to become more educated and take ownership of the way we're living.
This is the Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
What's up, champions? Welcome back to the Own It Show. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so excited. I'm your host, Justin Roethlingshofer. And on the Own It Show, what we do is we dive in to stories of how to take ownership of your health, how to make ownership yours, how to make it personal, how to make it relatable, but ultimately how to make it individual to the season of life that you're in and the purpose and the reason for why you're ultimately wanting a greater level of ownership. And so if you look back over the last 300 episodes, you're going to see ones of just me, just like we're going to do today, but also amazing guests who have made ownership theirs and realized something new and something different. If today's show does something for you, if it moves you, if it changes a mindset, if it shifts your thought process, if you think it's valuable, I encourage you, please share it with somebody. Please share it with somebody, because that is the way that we continue to reach people and continue to grow our listenership to have the impact in the world that we want. And today, we're diving into a couple different topics. We're diving into first, why does hormone therapy and peptide therapy not actually do what it says it does? What are the risks to it? Why should we actually take a beat or a breath before just following the general trend of what everybody else is doing? And then secondly, how do we actually execute discipline to not need it, not require it, not go down this road? And so when I start talking about this TRT and this peptide therapy thing, if you've seen my YouTube video, go into YouTube and type in Justin Roethlingshofer TRT or Justin Roethlingshofer peptides or Justin Roethlingshofer testosterone therapy. And you're going to see one of my videos that went viral. And we just really started talking about how TRT and peptide therapy, hormone therapy, is not something that's needed, is not something that's required. It's actually something that we are continuing to fund. And 94% of people who are utilizing TRT or peptide therapy actually do not need it, do not require it. And so as I was doing research for this episode, I really started to dive in and obviously went to a lot of the most trusted sources, the different papers, looking at a lot of the randomized control studies. How could I find something that was really purposeful in the human? But I found myself deep in the Harvard Health Publishing, Harvard Medical School journals. And I came across this article that says, "Is testosterone therapy safe?" ? Take a breath before you take the plunge. Understanding the potential risks and considering the alternatives before boosting your hormones indefinitely, which are in quotation marks. And so when we start to think about this, when we start to think, okay, why does this matter? Because millions of American men specifically use a prescription testosterone injection or gel or some type of form of testosterone replacement therapy, often called TRT, to ultimately start to increase hormone levels of testosterone with the promise that they can ultimately be made to feel more alert, energetic, mentally sharp, sexually functional, and create the same musculature, the same tone, the same bone structure that they had when they were 20. Now, let me just pause there for a second. You've been told that we can ultimately change low testosterone. We can take this feeling of fatigue, this feeling of inability to sleep, this feeling of brain fog. And just by doing an injection every 2 days, or maybe every week, depending on how your doc prescribes it to you, you can feel more alert, more energetic, more mentally sharp, more sexually functional, and have muscles that look like you were 25. Does that not throw any red flags up for anybody? Does that not make anybody go, wait, I think I've heard this before? It might sound a lot like the weight loss pills of the early 2000s. Hey, you know what? Just take this pill and you will lose fat, you will be more energetic, you will sleep better, and you will ultimately get the muscles that you've always been looking for, just like the person on the commercial. Hey, you know what? Drink this water and you will all of a sudden be able to run marathons and be super fit. Does it not sound a lot like the things that we've been pushed on before? Because here's the crazy thing. There's all of a sudden been this low testosterone boom of 2020. Marketers sit there and urge men to talk to their doctors if they have certain possible, notice how I did possible in quotations, possible signs that mean they could need low testosterone treatment. And so many men consistently ask themselves, what should I be looking after in terms of a sign? What should I be seeing myself as if maybe I need to have testosterone therapy? And so they start to think of questions like, do I feel tired? Do I have brain fog? Do I not function as well as I used to? Am I not able to put on muscle like I used to be able to do? And of course, everybody's going to say yes. Do you think it's any reason why these marketing companies, especially the people who are pushing the testosterone drugs or the peptides, are going after the most generalized, the most common things that we struggle with? Because just being tired isn't enough to seek testosterone replacement therapy. However, we're going to go, hey, general fatigue, malice, inability to put on muscle, inability to sleep, brain fog. Well, that's just about everybody. Just about everybody. And the crazy part about it, and I talk about this in my YouTube video, is that there's a testosterone and peptide trap. A testosterone and peptide trap. Hear me on this. This is worth sharing with everybody that you know. There is a testosterone trap. Once men get started on hormone or testosterone replacement therapy and they start to feel better, but then have to come off of it so that they're not utilizing it forever, the body stops making testosterone. You have to realize that testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, the hormones, even melatonin, all of these things are end of the road, top of the pyramid products. And there's hundreds of processes that happen within the body that require vitamins, minerals, and amino acids to ultimately generate all of these processes. So why all of a sudden, if I'm injecting myself with testosterone, would my body be like, you know what? I need to pull vitamin D out of the bone marrow. I need to convert that to NAC. Once I convert that to NAC, I'm going to utilize that within the body so that we can ultimately start producing testosterone. Well, no, the body's like, we're good. We've got testosterone. We've got the end of the road product. Well, I don't need to pull as much vitamin D anymore. Well, when it doesn't pull as much vitamin D, what else does vitamin D involved with? About 90% of other processes in the body. So why do you start having mood swings? Why do you start not being able to sleep well? Why do you stop having other generalized health and wellness processes occur, like the production of serotonin, the production of dopamine, the production of bone mineral density? Why do all of these things stop? Well, because all of a sudden they're not doing it. All of a sudden their processes have started to revert. And so men can often feel a big difference when they stop therapy because their body's testosterone production has not yet recovered. There's been no foundational work done or completed. And so this is what really starts to bother me, is that all of a sudden we start to say, hey, here's a really quick way in which we can start to solve for low energy, for brain fog. And a lot of these doctors are very quick with this. But why are we seeing an epidemic of low testosterone that is natural? Well, we don't exercise. We're under chronic stress. We don't sleep well. And because we don't sleep well, it means we don't have a purposeful and intentional night routine and morning routine. We don't eat proper foods. We drink too much. We use products like soaps and cleaning solutions that ultimately suppress testosterone release. We don't get outside and see the sunlight. We have massive micronutrient deficiency, minerals, vitamins, and amino acids. All of these things, all of these big rocks, all these things that we can do and make changes within from a foundational principle would exponentially increase natural testosterone. But no, you know what? We're just going to take a shot or take a peptide because that's where we need to ultimately go. And this is the problem that I have with testosterone-related therapy. This is the issue that I ultimately lean in first, is because we don't have a take stock of your health first approach. We don't ask the question, have you ever considered other reasons why you may be experiencing fatigue or a low sex drive or brain fog or an inability to sleep that may attribute to low testosterone? For example, do you eat a balanced and nutritious diet? Do you exercise regularly? Do you sleep well? Have you done a cellular blood panel and do you supplement for your deficiencies? Do you manage your stress effectively? Do you think about any of those? If your sex life isn't what it used to be, have you ruled out that your relationship hasn't necessarily been on, or that psychological issues that could potentially be contributing? Have you thought of any of these things? Have you leaned into any of these things, thinking that it is not just the circumstances of aging, but rather something more that you have been living out? Have you ever thought about that? Because it's time that we did things differently. It's time that we changed this approach. Because just like anything else, there are risks to taking the fast side. A lot of people went down the road of getting semaglutide, a peptide that helps with weight loss. Well, semaglutide was just found to actually increase risk of heart attack. Well, why would we go that route? Well, because it was so hot and it was so heavy before we actually understood what was actually going on. We heard about metformin. Metformin brings down cholesterol, helps with blood glucose stabilization for diabetics. Everyone was hot and heavy all over that until all of a sudden it found that it was causing major health issues within these people that were taking it. We were all about the Atkins diet for so long. All of a sudden, a decade later, we see everybody dying from heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, because we were seeing all this plaque build up in the arteries. You see, we've continually, year after year after year after year after year, found little hacks, little BS ways to try to fix our health issues, the symptoms that we experience. But we've never actually taken a look at how are we living? How are we living? How are we operating? What are our habits? What are our behaviors? What are the things that we're doing day in and day out actually looking like? What are the things that we're doing, our processes, our systems that are ultimately creating these outcomes that we don't like low testosterone, like weight gain, like inability to sleep, like brain fog? These symptoms that we all of a sudden have a magical fix for, when actually nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be fixed. We need to become more attentive. We need to become more aware. We need to become more intentional. We need to become more personalized and customized. We need to become more educated and take ownership of the way we're living. Have you ever thought of that question? Have you ever allowed that to sink in? Have you ever allowed that to percolate? Received an email from somebody about six weeks ago. And this individual had been on testosterone therapy for 5 years. 5 years. And they were just starting to notice just different things within their body that were starting to break down. This is a 32-year-old male. Notice things in their body. They started when they were 27. Started noticing things that were starting to break down. Well, over the last year, we worked on slowly taking them off testosterone and getting these things put back in place, getting the exercise routines, getting cellular blood work done, getting them on custom supplementation, changing their diets, changing the mindset, changing the way they sleep, changing the way they operate day in and day out. And I received this email, and I'm going to read it. And it says, "Justin, I just want to thank you so much for helping me take ownership of my health in a different way. It's been officially a year since I went off testosterone, or we started our process going off testosterone. And today I feel better than I ever did when I was utilizing it." I'm going to read that again. Today I feel better than I ever had when I was utilizing it. That is so important, because I think a lot of us are sold on the process and the concept that we can't have the energy that we want. We can't be mentally clear that we want. We can't sleep in the depth that we want. And the only solution is the peptide and hormone therapy, because we see all the influencers doing it. We see all the people that we respect doing it, but we actually don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. We actually don't know who they are behind the scenes. We actually don't know their heart behind the scenes. We actually don't realize that they're getting paid on the back end. We actually don't realize that everybody that clicks buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now is actually paying that person that is posting this and posting their use of this and posting this process. And just because they throw up, "Oh, hey, I use a vitamin here and there as well," that doesn't mean that the way they're operating is the thing that is necessary. Just because you see them posting pictures of six-pack abs and flexing their biceps at 50 years old doesn't mean that that's the only way that that's possible. One of my goals, one of my big focuses is I turn 36 next year, I guess in June, coming up here in a few months. 36 years old. I've been told by everybody since I was 25, 26, 27. Oh, you just wait till you turn 30, everything goes downhill. Oh, you just wait till you turn 35, everything goes downhill. I'm fitter now than I was at 25. And I don't use testosterone. I've never used testosterone. I don't use synthetic products. I've never used synthetic products. I've done it the old-fashioned, personalized, data-driven way. Understand the way you're sleeping. Understand cellular deficiencies. Personalize your supplementation and focus on nutrition. And ultimately, as you focus on these things, as you do this in a personalized way, you're able to create different outcomes. So no, you do not need to go down the hormone route. No, you do not need to go and stick yourself with a needle every week or every couple days. No, you don't need to go and get pellets put in your back, and that's how you ultimately start. If we think that God created this thing, this body that we embody, then why would we need something synthetic? Why would we need something fake? Why would we need something man-made to optimize it? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. And because we're always looking for that fast and quick solution, we need to go the other way. And when I start to talk about this, when I start to talk about doing it this way, everybody always tells me, well, Justin, I have no discipline. Justin, I don't have the discipline to be able to do this. And I say, that is a lie. It's a lie you've been telling yourself. You 100% are disciplined, just probably in different areas of your life. Look at your work. Do you show up on time? Are you an entrepreneur? Do you drive yourself to ultimately create a successful business in a multitude of other ways? Do you have a great relationship? Are you a great mom? Are you a great dad? You have discipline. You're able to execute discipline in areas that you prioritize. And people then look at me and they go, well, Justin, you're the most disciplined person. You just love to work out. You love to be in the gym. You love to do these things. And it shocks a lot of people when, no, I don't. I don't like to get up every single day and go work out. No, I don't like to go for a run. No, I don't like to show up at the track and the hill and do the hard things. I love the way it makes me feel. I love the results, but no, I don't like that. And so why do I create great systems? Why do I create great processes? Because I don't like to do it. If it was just up to me and left to my own devices, I'd sleep in every day. I would go and do the easy thing. I maybe would go ride a bike for 45, 60 minutes instead of going and doing the hard thing. I'd maybe go for a slight jog and jog walk while I talked on a phone rather than being really intentional and purposeful of going and getting like a really hard run in. That's what I would prefer to do. That's what my level of quote unquote discipline is. So how do I circumvent that? How do I change that? How do I adjust that? How do I give myself the ability to ultimately move past that? Easy. Accountability. And so not only do I have a coach, but I have built a community around me that I get to lead. There's 5 men that come to my house every day at 6 a.m. I don't like being up at 5:45, but I know I have 5 men waiting on me at 6 o'clock. So I better be up at 5:45, so I can set everything up and I can get them going and we can get into it, because I know when they show up, some of them are probably going to be tired too, but they showed up because they knew I was waiting. I know I have to be up at 5:45 because I have to show up at the track, and those guys are going to be waiting there, and those guys are going to be executing, and those guys are going to be working, and those guys are going to be doing their thing. And so as soon as we do this together, it creates consistency. And as you create consistency, you create a rhythm. And as you create a rhythm, you ultimately create a new habit. And that is how you have to structure your life. That's the level of intentionality that you have to operate from. Because here's the thing. Anybody listening, you look at people who have massive energy. You look at people who feel good. You look at people who are operating at a level that you desire to be operating at. They're no better than you. They have no more resources than you. They are not doing, and again, people that are doing it naturally, they are not doing things that you have no access to. They're just more intentional than you. They've built better systems than you. So don't look at the thing they're doing, but look at the system that's been built. Don't look at the thing that they're doing. Look at the system that has been built. Don't look at the type of exercise that I'm doing. Don't look at the way that I've structured my day. That's my routine. That's what works for me. That's what works in the season of my life and the priorities that I have. Maybe those don't align with you, but what you should emulate is the system that I've operated with. If you struggle with consistency, figure out how to get some people around you to help lift you up and keep you accountable in that way. If you have trouble when you go on the road, build a travel framework. How do you build a system while you're on the road to make sure that that operates at the same level? If you struggle with managing stress, look at the system that I've built to create that. That is what you should emulate. The system, not the thing. because that is what copying is all about. And if you're simply guessing, copying, or complying, you're never going to get as close and as far to true health as you possibly could. It's only when you start customizing. It's only when you start creating an N of one solution based around you, your priorities, your needs, and ultimately what you value, that you will create a different outcome. So no, you don't need to go down the testosterone route. You don't need to go down the hormone therapy route. You don't need to go down the peptide route, because you haven't even done the foundational principles that outweigh the symptoms in which you're starting to experience. And when you start realizing that it's you behind the mask that needs to take a hard look in the mirror and say, how am I living? That is when your life will start to change. That is when you'll start to operate in a different way. And to dive deeper into all of that, I said at the beginning of this podcast, go to my YouTube channel. Look up Justin Roethlingshofer testosterone, Justin Roethlingshofer TRT, Justin Roethlingshofer peptides. And that is the video that will come up. It's the one that went viral. Everybody's been commenting on it. It's been really cool to see the movement, because I want you to know the truth. I want you to know the truth that when you decide to do something different, when you decide to live different, when you decide to take an action that is different, when you decide to start living a life by design that is intentional and purposeful, based around what you need and your priorities and your season of life over the course of time, you will realize the life that you are seeking. You will realize the energy. You will realize the mental clarity. You will realize the focus. You will realize the body, the strength, the conditioning, the oxygen efficiency, the mental clarity, the ability to sleep, all of these things that you so deeply desire. You will get there, but it requires you to live differently. We know success is different, so own your different, and we'll see you guys next week.